Welcome to Bennett's Bike Social. Welcome to lovely Spain, which is the home of GASGAS. And we got two exciting new models to test today, the ES 700 and the Supermoto 700. Let's start with the Supermoto. Now, if you're not familiar with Supermoto, it kind of started in the late 90s by crazy French people. Journalists like myself jumped on the bandwagon and we loved it. And then everybody produced a Supermoto. Suzuki had one, Honda had one, Kawasaki, Husqvarna, Hutzenberg, Vertimati, the list went on and on and on. But the reality was of a Supermoto back then that it was a really vibrating, awful single cylinder bike that did about 80 miles an hour, was a kickstart and it was awful to ride. That's blatant honesty. Brilliant on track, but everywhere else they were a nightmare. But now Supermoto is completely different because these bikes are so usable and GASGAS have jumped into it. Now the big elephant in the room is obviously that it's very, very similar to the KTM and very, very similar to the 701 from Husqvarna because they are essentially the same company. But using the same platform to me is a compliment. It's like going to a chain of fine restaurants. You know you're going to get the same food in Edinburgh as you're going to get the same food in London. So if I'm going to get a GASGAS 700 Supermoto and it's based on a bike that I've already ridden that's bloody brilliant, then that's an obvious decision, isn't it? Well, it is to me. So let's start with the Supermoto, which, as I say, is completely different to the Supermotos of a decade ago. Because you can sit comfortably on the motorway on this bike at 150, 160 kilometres. It's got a big fuel tank. The range is quoted 230 kilometres. It's reasonably comfortable. On the road, you can have great, great fun. And then you go to the track, like we have done with MotoGP legend Sete Gibernal. I mean, how cool is that? Oh yeah, we'll just turn up your house, Sete, and ride a Supermoto around your back garden. And we didn't do anything to it. We left the fully adjustable W suspension as it was. We left the Continental attack rubber exactly as they are. We didn't even lower the pressures. We had a hoot around his Supermoto track. And then we left and we rode for lunch. There's not many bikes you can do that on if you really think about it. A few more technical details. We've got two rider modes, Rider 1 and Rider 2. Basically, when you go into 2, that reduces the rider aids. So you just have ABS on the front, no ABS on the back, and it turns off the traction so you can do stoppies and wheelies and all the crazy things that you shouldn't really do. Quick shifter up and down, works perfectly smooth, really, really excellent. There's an adjustable offset on this. There's fully adjustable suspension front and rear, high and low speed compression on the back. This is a quality piece of kit, but it should be because it's nearly £9,500 in the UK, which is a lot of money for a toy, but then arguably all motorcycles are toys. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. It took me a while to get into it because if you've not ridden a Supermoto for a while, there's a lot of travel on the suspension. You need to brake, get the forks to dive to get it to turn. It's incredibly light and flickable and great, great fun. If you wanted one, I would suggest this is more of like a second bike. For me, it's the bike that you want in the back of your garage for those hooligan days, you know? It's the bike you want for a Sunday morning where you can just go out and have some fun with the guys. You can do things on this that you thought you wouldn't be able to get away with. You can slide it around, you can pull wheelies, and you've got those rider aids to back you up.
So we're just on, I don't know, 30k maybe? Bit of town, bit of motorway, up and down this mountain pass. It's strange to get back to that Supermoto way of riding because you've got the long travel suspension. It's under 150 kilograms. It's incredibly light, really flickable, and like when you brake, the forks dive and then it turns, and the lightness, once you've pitched it forward, just turns so fast. The quick shifter works really well. And on the motorway, it's happy at 150, 160 kilometers an hour. You know, the old singles of old, just forget about them. This is completely different. It is expensive, just under 9,500. And if you're used to 2022 bikes with TFTs and Bluetooth connectivity and all that stuff, it's a bit limited. But we've got two rider modes, we've got traction control, we've got ABS that we can switch off, so it's just ABS on the front. The rider aids are lean sensitive, but you're not really gonna, it's not the best dash I've ever seen in the world. But I think we're heading off now.
And then moving across to the ES 700, which again is the same price. It's really interesting for me, who's obviously not an off-road supercross Dakar expert, how the rider aids help me. So you can, on this model, turn all the rider aids off because it's counted as an enduro bike. On the Supermoto, you have to have the ABS on the front, but you can turn the ABS off the rear. But on the ES 700, you can turn all the rider aids off, so no traction, no ABS, and just have some fun. But for me, I quite liked riding with a little bit of ABS on the front and a little bit of traction, because there is a lot of torque. You know, this is 75, 74 horsepower. But this falls in that midway gap. It's not quite an enduro, but it's not a big, heavyweight, big adventure bike, but you've got a decent sized fuel tank for a decent range, and you can ride this as an everyday bike and then have some off-road fun. But for me, the Supermoto is the star of the show. It's been a long time since I've ridden a Supermoto, and I wasn't sure if a 74, 75 horsepower single cylinder bike would still give me the kicks and the fun that I remember. Especially in today's world when we're all used to 200 brake horsepower. Even adventure bikes have 180 horsepower, and this has only got 74, 75. But it is great fun. But as I say, the elephant in the room is it's not any different really, apart from the wheels, to the Husqvarna and the KTM. But for me, that's a plus point. To copy something that's excellent is a no-brainer.